Today I'm going over how you can solve any equation that has grouping symbols in it. We're going to start with this first example. And really what's happening is now we have both grouping symbols and variables on both sides. So where do we even start? The first step really when you're solving any equation is to get rid of all of your grouping symbols. So in this case, we have two sets of grouping symbols, which means that we're going to have to distribute to get rid of them. So on the left-hand side, we can distribute the 10, and we'll get 10n plus 50. And then on the right-hand side, you'll just distribute again. So you'll do 2 times n, and then 2 times 9. After this, we want to separate our variable terms from our constant terms. So we want to get our variable terms on one side and all your constant terms on the other side. So the first thing I'm going to do is subtract a 2n from both sides. This does not have to be your first step. When you solve equations, there are many ways that you can come to the same answer. This is the way I'm going to do it. If you want to try it a different way and still see if you get the same answer, go ahead and do that. So I'm going to subtract my 2n. So 10n minus 2n will get me 8n. And then everything else, these two will cancel out. 2n minus 2n goes to 0. And 18 is going to stay the same. Now I'm going to subtract this 50 from both sides because we want to get rid of that addition. And then so the 50s are going to cancel over here, leaving us with 8n. And then on this side, 18 minus 50 should get us a negative 32. And then finally, to get n by itself, we want to divide both sides by 8. And we should get n equals negative 4. With these problems, if you ever want to check your answer to make sure you did the problem correctly, if you have some extra time and want to be thorough, you can go ahead and rewrite the original problem. And then anywhere you see an n, we're going to plug in negative 4 because that's what we said that n was equal to. And we want to be really careful because we're plugging in a negative. So if you need to, you can put that in parentheses. I guess in this case, it's not a big deal, but just to be careful. Now we can go ahead and start to simplify. I'm going to simplify inside of the parentheses first. So we have negative 4 plus 5, which is just 1. And then negative 4 plus 9, which is positive 5. And then our last step on each side, 10 times 1 is 10, and 2 times 5 is 10. So since these two equal each other, we got a true statement, 10 equals 10. That does mean we solved the equation correctly, and n equals negative 4 is the correct answer. Going on to the next example, I decided to add a fraction in here because I do know that a lot of people are scared to work with fractions. So we're going to try one this time. Again, we're going to do the same process. We are going to distribute on both sides. In this case, we're distributing a fraction, and that's okay. So let's work with the left-hand side. First, we're going to do 3 times 3x. You're just multiplying the 3 with the coefficient of x, which is just 9, and the x is going to stay with it. And then you have 3 times a minus 4. So this is a negative here. That's showing that the 4 is negative. So that's going to be negative 12. And then we want to distribute that 1/4 as well. So we're going to have 1/4 times 32x. So really you're multiplying the 1/4 times 32. And that's going to get you an 8x there. The x is just going to carry down. And then we have 1/4 times 56. That's going to get us a positive 14. And now we can go ahead and start to separate our variable terms and our constant terms. So I'm going to subtract an 8x from both sides. Again, there are many ways that you can go about solving these. So if you don't do the same first step that I do, it's no problem. 9x minus 8x just leaves us with 1x, or just x. Everything else will stay the same because these guys are going to cancel over here, leaving us with that 14. And then we can add 12 to both sides to finish off, and we will get x equals 26. So now that we have solved the equation, again, we can go ahead and check to make sure that we did it correctly. So anywhere you see an x, I'm just going to plug in a 26. We will get some big numbers here, but that's okay. It's not a big deal. So I'm going to go ahead and do the multiplication inside of the parentheses first. So I'm going to start with this 3 times 26. And 3 times 26 will get us a 78. And everything else on that side is going to stay the same. Then on the right-hand side, I am going to do that 32 times 26. That's going to get us quite large number, 832. Nothing to worry about because we do have that times 1/4 out front. So that's going to get us a pretty small number there. Well, not very small, but a smaller number. Now we can go ahead and simplify inside of the parentheses. So we can do 78 minus 4. And 78 minus 4 will get us 74. And that's still times 3. And then on the right-hand side, we can do 832 plus 56. And that will get us 888. So again, it may not seem like we're getting to the same place here, but we have that times 1/4 out front. So we're getting pretty close. Now we can go ahead and multiply. So we have 3 times 74. That's 222. And then a 1/4 times 888. That is also going to be 222. So since that gets us the same number on both sides, then that means we solved our equation correctly, and x equals 26 is the correct answer there. To sum up how you can solve an equation with grouping symbols, you first want to get rid of any grouping symbols you see by using the distributive property, and then you want to separate your variables. You want to put all your variable terms on one side and your constant terms on the other side. Then you can go ahead and finish solving the equation. And that's how you solve an equation with grouping symbols.